Hi there, this is David and welcome to the top 10 JRPGs for the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. These were known as the HD twins upon release, competing with Nintendo's non-HD Wii. And it took me a while to warm up to these systems, especially after the absolute wealth of RPGs that the PS2 gave us. The Xbox 360 started off strong with some exclusive RPGs released only for that system. However, it never took off in Japan while the PS3 did. So Sony continued its streak as the JRPG juggernaut, but not to the extent that it once did on the first two consoles. However, we did get some nice gems, so let's get started counting down the best of the HD era. Number 10, 3D Dot Game Heroes. It seems that as I get older, I veer further and further away from action-oriented games. I just don't have the reflexes or the patience that I used to. But this unique gem caught my eye. It's more than just some Zelda clone. Even though the game pokes fun at itself at times, breaking the fourth wall, and the hero looks eerily similar to the hero of Dragon Quest I. Fans of Zelda will feel right at home here also, with the familiar tools for dungeon exploration, from boomerangs to bombs to hook shots. It's all here, along with the appropriate puzzles. Rather than shooting a sword beam across the screen when you're at full health, your sword literally encompasses the entire screen when it's swung. But don't be fooled that the quest is easy because of this. Far from it. Old School Challenge is the name of the game here, so if you're up for a classic jaunt on modern hardware, give this game a shot. Number 9, Blue Dragon. A classic RPG on the Xbox with turn-based battles, on-screen encounters, a traditional world map, well-designed dungeons, and a 5-person party? Yes, please. This was one of the biggest surprises of the entire generation and one of the few games that I purchased in Xbox 4. I kind of like to think of it as a modern-day Final Fantasy V. Both are lighthearted, both are fun to explore, and both have great job systems. Don't get me wrong though, this game can be somewhat old school as well. It takes quite a bit of time for the world to open up and to recruit your party, not to mention the time that it takes to grind. Remember how long it took you to level up your jobs in Final Fantasy V or Dragon Quest 6 and 7? Well, that problem rears its ugly head here too, but I am old school and I don't mind it. Especially because later the game gives you a skill that will mitigate the time that it takes to grind greatly. The battle system is about as traditional turn-based as you can get, and the story, well, it's kind of a group of kids are off to save the world from an evil wizard. But again, I love games like these. Number 8, Star Ocean 4. Let's get one thing straight. Star Ocean 3 was a great game. The plot twist at the end? Not so much. The same thing can be said for this one too. It's a good game, but the characters? Not so much. Okay? Many people might lambaste the pacing of the game, saying that the dungeons take forever and that the cutscenes are too long, and while this is true, it didn't bother me near as much as some of the characters. Let's have a listen, shall we?
It wasn't me, really. I mean, sure, sometimes I may drool a little, but still.
I'm sorry. I was a bad girl. And now Ray-Ray's gone.
What a surprise! Now I'm running, but it's not ending at all.
Hold on a minute, I'll stop it.
My legs are getting tired. Ah! So, yeah. It's all your fault. Because I say so. Shut up!
My sentiments exactly, FaZe. But if you can get past this, you'll find one of the best games in the Star Ocean franchise. The planetary exploration that the franchise is so well known for has never been better. Yeah, you're still stuck on the medieval planet for quite some time, but there are many more worlds that you'll get the chance to explore as you progress. Being a prequel to the franchise works well in its favor. It's nice to see why humanity had to leave Earth in the first place. Number 7, Tales of Grace's F. There was a time not that long ago when, much like Dragon Quest, we in the West would be left in limbo, wondering if we would see the latest Tales release. I mean, we missed out on Vesperia PS3, the 3 games on the DS, Graces for the Wii, the 2 Destiny games on the PlayStation 2, as well as Rebirth and Symphonia PS2, both Tales of Phantom games and many Tales of the World releases. I signed petitions and joined Facebook groups which clamored for the release of more Tales, but thankfully since then, Tales has taken off in the West, and I was thrilled when Tales of Graces F was announced for release in the West as an upgraded port of the Wii Edition. Much like Dragon Quest V, it follows Asbel as he goes through childhood to adulthood, conquering everything in his path with the power of friendship. Utilizing a title system for gaining stats is a new system even for Tales, but you get different titles literally all the time, and as such you could customize your characters thousands of different ways. The depth of the system is just astronomical. Number 6. Eternal Sonata. Can we have more games like this? I spoke about this with Joan of Arc in a previous video, and the point still stands. There aren't enough JRPGs that are based off of our history. I would love to see this start a series. The plot is unique. The famous composer Frédéric Chopin is on his deathbed and dreams up this fantastical story, where he's actually a main player. Maybe it's because I'm a teacher, but I think that it's nice to learn something new while you play a game. The battle system is similarly unique. I don't think that I've ever seen anything quite like it. Each character is free to move about the screen for a limited amount of time, attacking or pulling off special moves. So in that sense, it's kind of turn-based. But as an added quirk, there are light and dark areas of each battlefield, and standing in them will allow you to access different movesets. It's pretty cool, and it makes each battle a unique puzzle to solve. And believe me, the game isn't easy, so you'll have to make good use of the system too. The world is gorgeous and full of detail, and you can't go wrong picking this bad boy up. Number 5. Lost Odyssey. While Blue Dragon was akin to baby's first Final Fantasy, Lost Odyssey is the real deal adult version. But not adults as in tits and ass, because that's really more juvenile, but adult as in its themes, maturity, missions, and its family-centric storyline, which centers around Kaim, an immortal who has lost all memories of his family and pretty much everything else that has transpired over the past 1,000 years. Reclaiming those memories and watching dream sequences play out can be very rewarding. The skill learning and progression system takes a page out of Final Fantasy IX's book, where you learn abilities not only from your equipment, but also from your human party members. So while it might be tempting to have a party of immortals who revive after about 3 turns of being knocked out, they'll never really get stronger if they aren't linked up to your humans, so it's imperative to have a good mixture of both while battling. As intriguing as the turn-based battle system is, the real reason to play is to explore the lively world and get to know the characters who inhabit it. Number 4. Final Fantasy XIII-2. I've gotta say that I really don't like Square's trend of making sequels to sequels. The ones that I've played are pretty terrible. However, this game thankfully bucks that trend. I guess because the game that it's based off is the terrible one this time. But I digress. Let's talk about modern-day Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy XIII-2. It looks like Square took the criticism of the first game to heart and massively opened this entry up. But not just in a traditional sense, they even added a time-traveling system, and even that system is non-linear. The world is your oyster. You can go where you want, explore what you want when you want to. The battle system is similar to the first game, but with the added twist of a monster party member. Now, many people know that I'm not really a fan of that, however, it's not overly annoying here, and everything else is so well done that I can't overlook that. Because this game is so open-ended, the developers also added the ability to close time gates and start an area back from scratch, correcting mistakes, choosing different dialogue options, or just trying something new. It's kinda like having a reset button mid-game, and that's what I love about it. The sense of freedom that you're giving makes the game a joy to play, and one where discovery dominates the experience. Number 3. Trails of Cold Steel 2. Here we have the much-acclaimed sequel to Trails of Cold Steel, continuing the long series first began in the Trails in the Sky trilogy and later the Crossbow duology. Whereas the first game could be painfully slow as it set up the country of Erebonia, Thor's University, and its inhabitants, the second dropped you off 1 month following the conclusion of the first game, right in the heart of the action, as Rain scours the continent looking for his classmates, the kidnapped princess, liberating his former stomping grounds, and ending the Erebonian Civil War. That's a lot for just one teenager to deal with. The turn-based battle system is the same as the first game, and for those who haven't played it, it's tactical turn-based where skills and magic can target enemies as well as areas. One major thing to note though, in order to enjoy this game thoroughly, you really should have already played the other games in the series, and if not those, at least Cold Steel 1. There is a summary of the first game included, but it doesn't really do it justice. Number 2, Tales of Vesperia. Here we have probably my favorite Tales game. They just don't make them like they used to. With a beautiful traditional world map, an easy-to-learn skill progression system centered around your equipment, and characters with great personalities, as well as easily defined classes, this is a great entry point for fans both old and new. Too often, Tales games get caught up in the minutiae of their customization systems, making something that should be simple, like equipment or battling, become far too complex. But that's not the case here. You equip your stuff, you learn the attached abilities, it's beautiful in its simplicity. The story follows Yuri, a badass, take-no-prisoners vigilante who gets caught up in a conflict bigger than himself between the Empire and the guilds. Yuri will stop at nothing, even murder, to achieve his goals. And if that isn't refreshing enough for a JRPG hero, the rest of the cast is fully fleshed out with hilarious skits and interactions which are fully voiced. This is a gem of a Tales game and should not be missed by any fans of the genre, especially now that it's available for other platforms besides the Xbox 360. And number 1, Ni no Kuni: Wrath of the White Witch. Here is a game that you just can't help falling in love with. Studio Ghibli does such a good job crafting their gorgeous world, no detail is lost in the shuffle. The towns all seem to fit, and the NPCs who inhabit them are true to the concept. No one's breaking the fourth wall here. The traditional world map is expansive and absolutely beautiful. To this day, I still don't think that it's ever been outdone. The music is ethereal, and the characterization is spot on in this masterpiece. One thing that can kind of take a bit of getting used to though is the combat. Think of an action arena Pokemon fighting game where you can't actually control your little guys, and you kind of get the gist of what they were going for. However, it's also very unique insofar as that who you do control is just kind of a mage, and your job is to sit on the sidelines casting spells, healing up, and generally supporting your familiars while they tug the bigger load. The entire game is whimsical, and I'm so happy that it's created a strong franchise that doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. Well, that's it for the top 10 list. What are your favorite RPGs on the PS3 and Xbox 360? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comments, and as always, have a good day.